Hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and the Fool.
Warning, this episode contains all spoilers for Darkest Dungeon and the Oberdin, the Return of the Oberdin video games. You've been warned. So I beat Darkest Dungeon, which took me like 200 hours. And then I beat Oberdin, and now I'm playing Half-Life. Like, I'm just flying through games now.
Yeah, I beat it last night.
Oberdin or?
No.
Half-Life? Darkest Dungeon?
Yeah, so I installed a cheat mod and beat it again, so Dismas and
Reynolds
could live.
What happens if you do it with them in the final mission? I couldn't do it because...
If you get in the final mission, you just get an achievement saying on the road to redemption.
Okay.
It doesn't give you any special ending, so I got the achievement anyways. It's just I wanted them to live at the ending.
Mine both lived, but I couldn't send them in because, if you send them to the dungeon once, they can't go again.
Yeah, I installed a mod that let me keep doing that because I was playing on Radiant, and Radiant's supposed to let you do that.
I thought you could in Radiant.
No, it's supposed to. It's just meant to give you huge penalties. You're supposed to get 80 stress.
I see.
I did read an explanation on the ending, and the explanation makes Rylanor and Dismas kind of badass, though.
Well, they're like immortal guardians of the earth.
Yeah, basically. They've done it they've done it infinite times. Many of the times they've died, many of the times they've succeeded.
Yeah. But,
and it will go into the second game, and the second game is when they finally fail. And that's why some people speculate there's no Crusader in the second game. It's because technically the only Crusader is Rylanor.
Oh, he's just like in that loop again and again.
Yeah.
Renault, I think is his name.
Yeah, Renault.
Yeah, it was, I wanted to redo the final fight because it wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Like, the whole Darkest Dungeon was way easier than the Crimson Court is way harder than the Darkest Dungeon. I just gave up on because you don't have to fight any boss to win the game.
Yeah.
You can ignore...
I beat every boss.
Oh, I didn't, because it's the same boss every time, right? It's just like, you fight each boss 3 times.
The story.
Yeah.
He proceeds with a story on each boss. The Ancestor is a horrible, horrible man.
Well, like the crew, I mean, he drowned them because they stopped being useful for him.
Do you know the Siren? I often wonder what became of that little
He offered her as a sacrifice.
Yeah, he offered her a sacrifice to the Deep Ones.
Yeah.
The Necromancer, what that was, is he and his colleagues got more and more invested in necromancy. And he's like, do you want to be better than a necromancer? A necromancer that can raise necromancers? And so he murdered all of them. And then raised them as necromancers that could raise necromancers. And so he had like this never-ending supply of undead. The witch is also basically, he fell in love with this woman who's doing witchcraft. But then she became obsessed and consumed by it and just started like eating all their potions. That's why she's super overweight and massive. The Brigands is basically, the hamlet was getting unruly. And he tried to hire locals to do it, but they wouldn't listen to him. So he hired bandits and they came with that giant cannon.
And the Crimson Court was just his parties got out of hand.
Yeah, and he murdered the Baroness, and he started feeding people her blood.
Did you ever fight the Fanatic?
No.
Okay, because I think he's harder than the Crocodilian. I never fought the Shambler.
I fought I would farm the Shambler. I had a crew that could kill it, and so I'd farm the Shambler.
But I think it's basically the same as the Darkest Dungeon creature.
Yeah.
So that one I don't think is too bad.
And I would farm the Head Taker as well.
The stone lions from Sunset Isles or Sunward Isles, very hard, ridiculously hard, way too hard.
Did you ever encounter the Raven or the gang?
Yes, I took down Wolf.
Yeah.
He's pretty hard too, but I beat him.
Yeah.
And then the Shrieker wasn't very hard, I thought.
No. It's just annoying because it comes back even if you kill it.
I showed you the Black Reliquary, right? Like that fan sequel. For some reason, what they've done is they made combat take like twice as long.
That's the comment I read, is it makes combat take twice as long and makes the abilities 4 times longer to read so you can't comprehend them.
Yeah, but it's like Darkest Dungeon strength is not its combat. No. Like they make every character like have 50 health at level 1 in Black Reliquary.
Yeah.
So basically Black Reliquary is Butcher's Circus. Yeah. Like the combat's the same. So it's much more tactically in depth. But Darkest Dungeon is about random chance with your 8 hit point guy getting hit by a 20 damage attack and you going, oh no!
Darkest Dungeon, it has that element. The other element is it's a better Witcher game than The Witcher.
Yeah, it's like preparing, choosing the right gear for the situation.
Choosing, like, once your party's in there and their abilities are selected, your ability to fight the combat could be done by a robot plus pressing the right buttons.
I think, though, Darkest Dungeon would be better served if the max level was like level 4 or something, and it took slightly longer to level up instead, because the difference, like at max level you have like I think my leper had 70 health.
Yeah.
Right, and at level 1 you have like 8 health on your grave robber.
Lepers have 18 at level 1.
Yeah, so they do have a lot. But
I think they're just like the best class, actually. For leper.
They're very, very tanky.
If you want to solo the game, like have one hero, lepers are apparently the one to do.
I actually did the Abomination. As much as I don't like the design, is very good. Like, they're super tanky. They hit super hard. They can heal themselves and de-stress themselves.
Yeah.
The only downside of the Abomination really is you can only have one in your party.
Yeah, and you can't have a Vessel or a Fanatic.
Yeah, and it stresses everyone else out. But
well, he's not the Fanatic. What is he called? He's the...
Oh, the Paladin?
Sorry, not... He is the Fanatic. The guy who whips himself.
Oh, he is called the Flagellant.
Yeah, you can't have the Flagellant. You can't have the Paladin. You can't have the Vessel, and you can't have the...
Any of the religious people, basically.
Yeah.
It
There's 4 religious people.
I think another mistake I did when... Alright, so going through the DLC still.
Yeah.
So Butcher Circus, terrible.
Yeah.
And because Darkest Dungeon, you're not playing it for the combat, you're playing it for the Warhammer Fantasy style. I'm just going, like, Games Workshop style. Come on, good numbers, and come on, they get bad numbers, right? That's Darkest Dungeon. It's the fear of the back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Skill is nice to have a bit of strategy, but you only want a little bit. Butcher Circus is, like, just a competitive JRPG. Weird. And then there's Color of Madness, which actually has some pretty cool music.
Yeah.
Has very cool visuals. That said, and it adds the crystals.
Yeah.
It adds a whole new dimension to the wagon, which is like crystal hunters or something.
Yeah.
That's a bit too much. Like, the problem with my Color of Madness is you're only doing it for trinkets, basically.
Yeah.
But the trinkets are kind of neat. Like, they change how abilities work, basically.
Yes.
Which is a cool way to do it. Like, it totally changes. And then it also adds the refracted debuff to the game, which is kind of interesting. If they go mad, they can become refracted, and then they start seeing weird colors and stuff. So that's kind of cool. So that's the only DLC that I would say is, like, okay. And even then, I think it dilutes the game a little bit.
Yeah. But
at least it's okay. So the DLC for Darkest Dungeon is terrible. The sequel is terrible. The fan remake is terrible. Yeah. The game is...
Actually, this is something I observed, which is I remember playing the Darkest Dungeon basically when it was still in development, and they actually didn't have a whole bunch of parts of Darkest Dungeon out yet. Like, you could only basically go to the ruins. Like, the ruins and the welds were basically
the cove was added later, I think.
Yeah, the cove was added later, so was the warren with the pigmen.
Yeah.
Actually, we didn't talk about... Those bosses are just him messing up ritual summoning. Yeah. But maybe the warren was there. But the original game, I think before they added the other things, the ancestor wasn't as evil. He became more evil by the other content they add. Like, his line about the miller.
Yeah.
It's like, the only thing that brought me joy is knowing the miller's dead. And there's an event that can happen, which is just a bad event. And the ancestor just laughs at you. And it's the most evil laugh.
Yeah,
So actually one of the interesting things is, at the start of the game, the ancestor is pointing in the opposite direction of the cart. He's like saying, go the other way.
Yeah.
That's not the ancestor at the hamlet. That's you. That's the you that at the end of the game does the family tradition and starts a cycle.
Are we recording an episode right now? I mean, we could just call this episode like spoilers for Darkest Dungeon, and then we'll throw in like Oberdin as well or something. Like, I'm okay with that. It's just we should probably...
Well, yeah, I want to talk... I can do stuff, but the Cosmic Horror.
Yeah.
I've decided I don't like it. Like, there are people who talk about Warhammer 40k, and they're saying it's not grimdark anymore, it's becoming hope punk.
Yeah.
So, I like that, actually. I don't like grimdark. If there's grimdark, yeah, you can have grimdark. I know the idea of grimdark is nothing can go good, but I need my Caiaphas Canes in my grimdark. And they are making it a little bit better. I need small victories that actually bring it towards a final victory.
What's the match is struck.
Yeah.
A blazing inferno is formed.
Blazing Star.
Inordinate size. No, monstrous size has no intrinsic merit, unless inordinate insanguination be considered a... I started just quoting with him every time he started. 200 hours. I played it for far too long.
I started wanting to
I want my life back.
I started wanting to hear, this line doesn't happen, but he has two different lines. One of them is, or is it merely a trick of the light?
Yeah.
But he has another line, which is like, a new hope lost, not the new hope is like, yeah, it's the match is struck, a blazing star is born, we need only the virtue to carry onwards.
Yeah.
Or is it merely... like, I wanted every time he said something positive or anything that happened to deal with, like, the light getting brighter. It's like, or is it merely a trick of the light?
No, he definitely has some positive lines.
Yeah.
Like, I really love... My favorite line is... I think it only happens when the Crusader gets a virtue event. Which is, like... it's something like, men will fall and men crumble... Like, it's like, all men fall and crumble.
Yeah.
But not this man. Yeah. And not this day.
Yes.
And you're just like, yeah!
No.
And then the best part as well is with the Crusader, like, stress goes to 0. He lowers the stress of your whole party. He buffs himself. It's like, yeah!
The Crusader has one of the best virtues.
Yeah.
But, see,
I love that line so much.
The thing, like, Darkest Dungeon is that fan art, which is, it shows the Crusader and it has his virtue underneath, which is, like, righteous or indomitable. And it shows there's these chains wrapped around him, and there's hordes of undeads and cultists surrounding him. And he has his scroll whipped out, and the chains are exploding, and the undead are shrieking back.
Is this the Darkest Dungeon fan
This
art?
is a fan art, yeah.
Oh.
And it says unbreakable or something, or indomitable. And it's like, that is what the part of Darkest Dungeon I like, is when everything feels like it's bearing down.
Yeah, let's just go full spoilers for Darkest Dungeon, because it is an interesting, like, story, right? Like, the idea is basically, by playing the game, you are hiring people to be sacrificed against the dungeon, to scout, to kill things, which is actually what powers the dungeon.
Yeah.
You're actually powering it because you're treating your sin is powering the dungeon, and your sin is using others to pay for your own family's crimes, instead of taking on the burden yourself, because you as the ancestor, you as the descendant, aren't actually the one going out into the dungeon. You're just hiring people and sending them to die. And you go to the end, and this is going to be full spoilers for the game, obviously. I mean, I think we'll say that at the start. But, and it's not, having now played the whole game, it's weird. I'm in this weird spot with spoilers right now, because they affect me way more than they used to for some reason. But at the same time, I'm also recognizing, like, for Darkest Dungeon, it's like, you're not really spoiling, like...
Well, I've known for a long time, I don't know where, but someone said you are the ancestor to me a long time ago.
Which may or may not be true. It's kind of...
You're not the ancestor, you're just redoing it over and over again.
I wasn't sure if it's a time loop, because things seem to fly backwards, right?
Yeah.
Or if it's just the same events repeat themselves over and over
again. It's kind of like the same event repeating itself, but a time loop at the same time. It's very Lovecraft.
Because the ending makes it look like you shoot yourself, right? So
you do.
Yeah. And you send off a letter again. And also... There's you know how the opening line of Darkest Dungeon is ruin has come to our family.
Yeah.
And then the ending line is ruin has come to our family.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, right before he says ruin has come to our family at the end, he says all of Earth is related. We are one giant family doomed to... Mm-hmm. So ruin has come to our family is the world is ending, is what he's saying. Because...
Yeah, so if you play it in New Game Plus, I was looking this up.
Yeah.
If too many of your heroes die, the world ends.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, no, it actually shows the extra scene of the heart basically breaking free and breaking apart the world.
Wow.
Because you fed it too much.
Jeez. I wonder if you lose no one if... Because I only lost like 6 people. Like, I think... I barely sent anyone to their death.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of it's hopeful. And the story itself could be seen as hopeful, right? Like, basically, you're in this impossible fight. But you haven't lost.
Well, so it gives you a blurb every time the game starts, which is Darkest Dungeons making the best of a terrible situation.
Yeah. And you haven't lost, right? Like, you keep going and going and going. And the world keeps turning as long as you... Although, the ending... Is the sun, like, rising backwards at the end as well? Or is it just setting? Like,
Well, one of the very interesting things is, so, the final boss has an absolute bullshit ability.
Yeah.
Which is you choose a hero to die.
Yeah.
And each hero has their own line for its murder, and the good mods, their modded hero has their own line.
Yeah.
I actually looked up all the lines, and do you know what the bounty hunter's line is?
What?
It's just he's such an eloquent speaker.
So, I love the Crusader's line though, he's so good.
My
Crusader's name was Paladin as well.
The flagellant's line is kind of sad.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, pick me, finally. Get released. I wanted this for so long. It's basically
Yeah.
his line. But,
Yeah.
or the abomination is, it can't be any worse than the life I've already lived. But so the ability is called Meet Your Maker.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're fighting life, essentially.
Yes, you're fighting the creator of humanity, is what the ancestor describes it as.
Which is why the ancestor went mad, because he's like, oh, there's no point in anything, because this is... Do you think, like, Lovecraftian style madness requires a certain degree of arrogance? Like, you come across this secret that you didn't know before, that all of life is descended from this malevolent being, right? But that doesn't mean that there's not an even greater goodness, right? Like,
Yeah.
So there's a sort of arrogance that you figured out the last secret there, rather than there being an even deeper secret that there's good beneath the evil or something.
Oh, definitely. I think that's what Tolkien recognized, because Tolkien was a huge fan of Lovecraft.
Yeah, but
if you look at Tolkien's writing, he is completely different than Lovecraft's, because Lovecraft, a lot of the time, is things will just get worse. We cannot compete with the absolute enormity of the universe.
So, if you think about it, the Balrog, who is the devil, and Gandalf, who is an angel, fell into the underworld, where Lovecraftian creatures of nihilism dwell. But the creatures of nihilism stayed in the underworld, whereas the Balrog and Gandalf, they climbed to the top of the mountain, and their fight was seen on the mountain's peak. Good and evil fight in the daylight, whereas nihilism, it's below where nobody will see it, and it does nothing.
Yeah. Well, so even the Discord of the universe, which is Ungoliant,
Yeah.
she was driven into the deserts of Rune, basically by the Balrog. And so these are satanic beings, and their master, who's the fallen angel, she wants to eat the fallen angel, and he has his servants drive her back, and she flees from the world after spreading her brood across it. But then she flees in the desert, and she consumes herself in hunger.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's nothing for her.
Yeah. And then her greatest offspring, which is Shelob, wants to grow until she breaks the mountain beneath her and blots out the sky, consuming all its light. And it's a great part where I think it's Faramir is talking to Gandalf or Aragorn or someone, can't quite remember, and he tells them the path they went on, and it breaks them. It's like, they can't handle they're sending these people into Mordor.
Yeah.
You're going to Mordor to sneak through it to try to get to Mount Doom. Impossible task already. Then they're told they're going through Shelob's lair to get there. And that's worse.
Yeah.
It's like...
And do you think,
And Shelob, her den, it's in complete darkness, right? And Sam and Frodo are traveling through it, and they see her deeper den. And it's like dark anti-light. It's darker than dark, and it smells so bad it's killing them.
But even there, they have...
They have the light of the Elves' favorite star. They have the Phial of Galadriel, and they have Sting. And Shelob's ultimate undoing is kind of hubristic.
Yeah, she does it to herself.
She's trying to smother Sam, crush him with her body. Yeah. And so she slams herself down on him, and he's holding the sword up.
Her dark nihilism drives her own wounding, right, to herself. Because she can't be harmed by conventional weapons, but she can harm herself.
Yeah.
And all that is needed is for those who haven't fallen into nihilism to believe in themselves, to believe something matters. And the nihilists will throw themselves against the rocks of your faith, and they will pierce themselves with the blade of Sting.
Yeah.
And I think, the ancestor, he's come to this knowledge that nobody else has, that if he doesn't fight back against life itself, it'll destroy the world. And if he does fight back, it will grow stronger.
Yeah.
And so he's like, this is too much of a burden for anyone. He flees weeping and wailing.
Yeah.
Sends a letter off to his descendant to say, this is your problem, and kills himself.
And the first two heroes the descendant hires is Fallen Crusader and Highwayman. And so...
Not a highwayman. Dismas.
Yeah, Dismas. Well, so here's the thing.
Dismas was the thief on the right hand of Christ when Christ was crucified.
So something else
So it's a fallen crusader and a risen highway robber.
Yeah. Each item from the Crimson Court, that line also that you have to match, contains a bit of their story.
Yeah.
And so each character of the main game actually has a canon name.
Yeah.
It's in their game files. The only ones that actually have the canon names on their base, though,
are Dismas and Renault.
Yeah. And so the Crimson Court...
You can also find their heads from the collector. Yeah.
The Crimson Court item for Dismas is I didn't mean to do it. And so one of them is a family portrait of like a woman and a child.
Yeah.
And I can't remember his other item, but it kind of signifies either he accidentally killed his own family, or while he was doing a robbery,
He killed a family.
he killed people who he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And the items denote regret.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's like a risen thief, whereas Renault is a fallen crusader.
Then both their lines, they both have defiant lines. If meet your makers over them, like Renault says, "I'll fight you in hell,"
Yeah.
saying that he will keep on fighting. I can't remember Dismas' line, but it's also defiant.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's an undercurrent of hope in there, right? Like the thought is maybe if you fight, not this time, maybe not next time, but if you keep fighting, you never give in, then maybe it'll never end. It's kind of this isn't the origin of Moloch, right? Because Moloch was a god that people liked at one point, right? In theory, we know so little about Moloch; it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But Moloch has come, especially in Silicon Valley, to be the term for kind of the tragedy of the commons. But it's also this idea that systems will always trend towards corruption because it's to everyone's advantage to go towards corruption and the easy route, and it's tragic. However, every single day you can fight against it, and humanity has been doing that for all of human history, and they have managed so far to keep going forward and keep working together and keep holding it off.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Moloch, like, his altar is a pair of, like, bronze hands that have a fire under them, and you put a baby on them to sacrifice to him?
Yeah, is that Moloch or is that Baal, maybe?
That might be Baal. Both of them are baby eaters.
Well, Moloch is has been assigned the identity of a baby eater and a god of sacrifice, but we don't actually know like anything about Moloch, basically.
Okay. Well, maybe it's Baal or Moloch, but it's talked about in the Bible.
Yeah.
One of the enemy gods. And I'm pretty sure one or the other has like some sort of horrible contraption, which is basically their altar is made of bronze or brass, and you light a fire under it, and then you put the child on to die.
Well,
or you throw them into a fire.
The Sargon of Akkad fought a group of people who worshipped. It might have been Moloch or it might have been Baal. I think it was Moloch, possibly. Who was a statue to put the baby in the hands of. But that was like how it was like their naming ritual, basically. It was like you put the baby in the hands. And that doesn't mean that you remembered it wrong. The Bible could be wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like the Jews could have had either propaganda that to make them look worse, or they could have had a distorted vision of the people.
Yeah.
Or, as I think happens, the society of whoever these people were, Hittites or something, could have fallen to such a degree that they were sacrificing babies to the statue.
Yeah.
And they didn't always.
The baby you sacrifice your children to have a better harvest now.
Yeah. And for your other children. Like, it doesn't have to be straight up evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
Well, it's kind of is evil. It's not as bad as the Aztecs.
Well, it depends how you look at it, right? Like, if you can sacrifice your freshborn baby so that your other kids will live versus all your kids dying, it's like, it's not like it's a bad trade. It's like everyone dies or half them die. What do you want? It's like, well, half them die, obviously. That seems pretty moralistic right there. Like, what, you want all the babies to die? Mm-hmm. But making those choices... The question is making those choices, being a consequentialist, looking at the ends rather, treating your babies as a means to an end, right? Yeah. Or is the saying we don't sacrifice our friends for a good outcome, we don't sacrifice for utopia, is that actually a luxury belief? Like, and when the chips come down to it and you're in a situation where everyone will starve unless you exile half your people or the old people go off and die in a snowstorm.
So, in the first sacrifices that happen in history, apparently, that is the sacrifice of Cain and Abel. Yeah. So, Cain sacrifices not the best he has. He sacrifices vegetables. Yeah. And Abel sacrifices a goat. Yeah. And that's the best he has. And when Cain murders Abel, some interpretations of it is he's sacrificing Abel to God. Yeah. In that murder. Huh.
But it's not his place to make that.
Yeah, and that's part of God's wrath. Right. Is you are not allowed to sacrifice someone else. The whole idea is you're sacrificing your own thing.
Yeah. Whereas Abraham can sacrifice Isaac because that is his kid.
Yeah. Maybe. Well, no, he can't though because God stops him.
Yeah, but he does ask for it.
Yeah.
And Abraham does think, you know what? Yeah, sure.
Well, so here's So in that, so God asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac,
Yeah.
and Abraham's going to do it, and God stops him, and God says, instead, because you're obviously like super loyal to me, you can circumcise yourself and circumcise your son,
Yeah.
and that will signify the sacrifice to me and make you loyal to me.
Yeah.
And then that's Jewish tradition for 2,000, 4,000 years.
Yeah.
Who knows how long.
Yeah.
Then Jesus comes along, and Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is for everyone.
Yeah.
And Jesus dies. And then Crazy McCrazyface shows up, who's
Paul?
Paul, who is Saul,
Yeah.
shows up. And people are saying, well, these people want to join our faith. We should circumcise them.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. You don't understand. Sacrifice is over. Jesus did that.
Right.
That was the final sacrifice. We don't do that anymore.
And also, I think, if you're demanding other people make a sacrifice, again, you're falling for the Cain and Abel problem. Right?
Yeah, and but the other thing is, if you sacrifice after what Jesus did, that is wrong. Because Jesus' sacrifice is the final sacrifice. But Saul even says, or Paul, that if it's your tradition, as like he said to the Jewish people, if it's your tradition to sacrifice the cow, to sacrifice the chicken, sacrifice the goat,
Yeah.
keep doing that. Don't let go of your tradition, but it's not necessary, and don't force other people to do it.
Tell you the solemn truth. Everyone who practices sin is a slave of sin. The slave does not remain in the family forever, but the son remains forever. So if the son sets you free, you will be really free. So you can kind of redeem backwards, I guess, is the...
Yes. Yeah, no, Jesus redeemed everyone.
Well, it sounds like he redeemed the past people, but
Yeah.
it's up to the future people to...
Yeah, well, I didn't bring out holy bread.
Holy bread.
Yeah.
Like the Russian thing, or the...
No, I got, Orthodox priest gave me holy bread.
Oh.
I went to our Orthodox church,
Yeah.
and there's apparently, like, 3 other guys there who are also visiting it for the first time, and then me, so that's 4 of us. And, man, it's an endurance sport, actually, Orthodox service. You're, like, I didn't realize you're allowed to sit down.
Yeah.
So I was standing the whole time because everyone else was standing. The service is, like, an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
And it's in a crowded, hot room. There's not much room to stand around. And I figured one thing out is everyone does this thing where they, when certain things are said, they cross themselves, and when other things are said, they bow.
Yeah.
That's opportunity for movement.
Right.
I didn't realize because I just stand there still and stoic.
Yes.
Where these people are like getting to bow, like stretch a little bit. But anyways, after the service, the priest, a bunch of leftover bread, he basically put into little Ziploc bags and handed out to them and said, "Here, you can have some spread." And so had a bunch of holy bread,
Wow.
which so I could sprinkle it on my windowsill and keep Dracula out.
Oh, is that what it's for?
That's what Van Helsing did.
Oh.
He took bread of the sacrament and sprinkled it in a line at a cave mouth and on the windowsill. The windowsill didn't work, but the cave mouth did, where he, I think, is one of the women that Dracula was turning into a vampire.
Right.
He put her into a cave and put a line of bread in the way, so she couldn't get out and Dracula couldn't get in.
Right.
Because it's like a holy barrier.
Actually, Crime and Punishment has a whole lot of stuff about the because it's Russian, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a whole lot of Orthodox stuff. That's another thing I finished after finishing. Darkest Dungeon was holding back my whole life, and I finally. But yes, I finished Crime and Punishment, and there's like a funeral thing, which is like it's like a kind of like rice pudding sort of thing with raisins in the shape of a cross in it. So like there's a lot of food is very key to Orthodox. It seems like.
Well, so you know the Orthodox cross, it's a little different.
Yeah.
It's got the extra bar on top and the line on the bottom.
Yeah.
The priest was super friendly, like sweet old man. So I asked him what they meant. So the line on top is it represents there's a board, is the headboard on the cross that said Jesus' name and his crime. So that's what that is. Then the board on bottom is some sources said that when he's put on the cross, a lot of crosses actually had a board you would stand on.
Right. So it could actually take your weight.
So it could take your weight, and also it would take you longer to die.
Yeah.
So it's actually to make it worse
Yeah.
if you could stand on it, because you'd survive longer. But why it's at an angle is because it's to represent that in his agony, Jesus twisted the board.
Right.
And it's to represent that he's both man and God, so he felt mortal agony.
So there's a lot of symbolism in and the one on top, is it bent like...
The one on top isn't bent.
It's straight.
It's
Okay.
straight, but it's his name
Okay.
on top. So it's his name and his crime.
Right.
And so that's why their crosses
So
extra.
so it wasn't like he was tortured weird in the
No.
in the Orthodox.
Well, so the
so why do the Knights Hospitaller have that weird plus-shaped cross?
no, sir. Well, so the upside down cross
Yeah.
is actually not the sign of the Antichrist. It's a sign of one of the saints.
It was hung upside down.
Yeah, so he was crucified upside down because he didn't want to steal Jesus' thunder. So he requested to be crucified upside down. And then the Scottish flag actually is how one of the other apostles was crucified.
Oh, like a
So what happened with him...
Andrew, right?
Yeah, so what happened with him is basically he was going to be crucified, but Christianity was getting really popular at that point, and they knew that the cross was a symbol.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to give him the dignity of putting on a cross.
So they put on an X.
So they put him on X and crucify him there, and then that became very popular. It's like the symbol of Scotland now.
Right. So, yeah, because he was, I guess, a popular guy or something.
Yeah. Well, basically, all the ways they died are symbolic in some way or another.
Yeah, the over in China, they were crucifying them in weird ways. Like the yin-yang crucifix. That one was...
Well, one of them, I think, not in China, but in that area, got sawed in half.
It was like the human centipede execution.
No, one of them did get sawed in half.
It sounds unpleasant.
Yeah. I'm confused. So apparently, a lot of the apostles were alive at the time that Nero was alive.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they wouldn't... Nero was alive in, like, 50.
Yeah, so...
So they would have had to... Because they were, like... Were they in their early 20s when they met Jesus? Or even
Basically, yeah, they're that and younger.
So they would have been in their 70s while Nero was alive. Yeah. So it's possible, but like when
Well, no, so Jesus is born
Yeah.
at BC, and he starts hanging out with them when he's like 30.
Yeah, but I thought the year starts...
No, the year starts at his birth.
I thought it starts when he becomes Christ or when he dies or something.
No, AD isn't after death.
No, it's Anno Domini, the year of our Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
so...
I thought he became the Lord after his crucifixion.
No, he became Lord is at his birth.
Okay, so then let's say they're in their 20s when Jesus is in his 30s.
Yeah.
And so then they would have been born in like year 10. So they would have been like 40 by Nero's time. Yeah. Yeah, that's very doable. Yeah. Or if Nero was a bit later in the... No, sorry. How I know this is I said I don't know if I ever told you about this. I wrote a short story called XXX, The Seducer of Men.
Yeah.
So it's about the devil seducing the 30th Roman Legion. And so it takes place in the year 69.
Wow.
Which, when the Roman Legion... So this was during the reign of the 5 emperors.
Yeah.
Which happened... So Nero died and then they had the 5 emperors. The year of 5 emperors.
Yeah.
And so Nero would have ruled in 68. So that would mean that if they were born in the year 10, they would have been like 58. Yeah. Yeah.
So Julius Caesar became tyrant of Rome in like what?
It's a completely like PG story, by the way.
80 BC?
Julius Caesar was tyrant in like 40 BC, I think.
40.
Yeah.
And so Augustus became emperor
around 0.
Around 0.
Yeah.
So who's Augustus's heir?
Was it what's his name with a T?
Titus?
No, it's like Tyrion. No.
Basically, like, how many generations are between Augustus and Nero?
I don't think like a huge. Well, what's the average? It was like less than 5 years, right? For like it was. Were the 5? I think the 5 emperors came early. The 5 good emperors came early on, right? It was.
But they lasted a while. They would have been after Nero.
I think they were before Nero.
They wouldn't have had time.
Because, well, like if Augustus ruled until, a ways into the, like, 20s or something, I think. Like, Augustus was emperor for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Like
But, like, Marcus Aurelius became emperor in his 30s, I think?
Yeah. And
he lived to, like, 64 or older.
He was the last of the good emperors, though.
Yeah, but that's a long chunk of time he had.
Yeah. But the reason I've heard Rome started going downhill was everyone followed the tradition that Julius Caesar set, which was you choose an heir, not your child, but someone you think is fit to rule.
Yeah.
And Marcus Aurelius didn't do that.
Yeah.
And so Marcus Aurelius kind of caused the downfall of the Roman Empire from that. So it would make sense that Nero came after that in that case.
Marcus Aurelius kind of caused the downfall. I can't completely blame him.
Yeah.
Do you know the tragic tale of Marcus Aurelius' son?
Commodus?
Yeah.
He wanted to be Hercules.
Well, so Marcus Aurelius was planning to rule with him.
Yeah.
And to teach him how to be emperor.
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Yeah, and so Commodus started at like 19 or something.
Yeah. But they were basically going to do it together.
Yeah.
And then Aurelius died.
But he still chose his son instead of the best person for the job, right?
Yeah.
That said...
I'm pretty certain the person he wanted to choose also died.
Commodus and Nero. So it was Cicero who recorded Commodus's rule.
Yeah.
And it might have also been Cicero who recorded Nero's rule. And Nero hated Commodus.
Yeah.
So we don't actually know how bad Commodus was, right? We don't actually know if this is all propaganda.
Yeah, well, no, the recordings of Nero, like the guys who recorded Nero stuff hated him.
Because my story, Seducer of Men, XXX, or XXX Seducer of Men, sorry.
Yeah.
The emperor at the time, I forget his name, started with an O. It was like Oblogon or something, you know. He was the most successful in that year of 5 emperors. He actually lasted for like half the year, basically. And he was the middle emperor, I think. And his main strategy for winning the hearts of the people was to act like Nero.
Yeah.
Which I think tells you something about Nero's rule. Even though the history books we have say Nero was an awful ruler, the emperor that came after him was winning the hearts of the people by acting like Nero.
Yeah.
Which means, it sounds like Nero was popular, right?
Yeah. And again, like
imagine if we lost all history, and then you have like CNN as our only record of Trump or something, right? Like,
well, exactly. So the Fate series, I know you've seen some of it, it can be weird at times.
yeah.
So in one of the stories, it's called...
I read about the history of the Fate.
Yeah.
Like where that whole thing comes from.
Yeah.
It's like they're like hentai that became very popular and turned into non-hentai because they were so popular. Yeah.
Yeah, and so so there's something interesting about the author.
Yeah.
Which he's a nutcase.
Yeah.
And so when he writes stories, he actually doesn't like writing endings.
Yeah.
And he also doesn't like writing beginnings. And so the main game, which is called Fate Stay Night, depending on what you do, has 3 different endings. And you can achieve the endings by doing different things in multiple playthroughs. The game has a sequel, but how do you have a sequel to a game with multiple endings? Well, obviously, you choose one of the endings to be canon, right?
Yeah.
Nope. All of the endings are canon, and all of the endings aren't canon. That's how he does it.
Right. So it's like Legend of Zelda.
But anyway, so one of the things about the heroes that get summoned is... There's 2 things. One is the heroes... If you summon Julius Caesar, in life Julius Caesar obviously wasn't a wizard.
Yeah.
But the legends of Julius Caesar and what he could do infused the hero that gets summoned. So then Julius Caesar could become powerful and magical by the summoning. So that's one part of it. But the other thing is sometimes he goes and says, history is not as we thought it was. The story is different. And so in one of them, Nero gets summoned as a hero. And of course, she's a saber who looks like Saber, who has saber face, which is a thing from Fate series, which is like 50 characters all have the same face. And that's because the artist just can't draw. And so he draws every look and say, no, he's a fine drawer. But so, and when Nero talks...
And Nero's female.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So when Nero talks about their story, it's talking about how it's a tragedy and they didn't want to be emperor, they just wanted to be a performer. And their final smash, I'll just call it that to make it easy for understand, is they summon their theater.
Yeah.
Then the theater bursts into flame and collapses on you. But they talk about how Nero died, and they make it worse because they
made
do
it worse.
They do it from Nero's perspective,
Right.
and so Nero's dragged out of Rome.
Yeah. Buried up to his waist and disemboweled.
Disemboweled.
Yeah.
And so in it,
Well, first he drinks poison.
Yeah.
And then he throws up because he's so afraid or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she pulls herself out of the ground and starts crawling back towards Rome because the people, it was this group of people basically plotted against her, but the people loved her. And so she was trying to get back to Rome to basically tell the people, this is where I am, this is where I'm going to die, don't forget about me. Right. I'm still your emperor. And so, tries to crawl back and then dies while coming back.
Yeah, because the thing to keep in mind with Rome is there was a very powerful elite who... Their interests were different from the common people's. Yeah. So, for example, Emperor Aurelian, from the people's perspective and from a historical perspective, is possibly the greatest Roman emperor, ever.
Yeah.
Greater than Augustus, even. Greater than Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
Greater, because what Aurelian did was he took the empire, which was about to fall apart, and he made it last for another like 400 years.
Yeah,
in 5 years. He
Yeah.
fixed the entire empire in 5 years. He stopped 3 civil wars. Like, they had 3 separate succession wars going on. He stopped all of them. He united the whole empire. He rebuilt like everything. And then people were afraid of him, so they fabricated a false set of letters, which his scribe read, I believe it was. And it said like, oh yeah, we got... No, so it wasn't his scribe, it was his generals. His generals fabricated a letter saying, we're going to like do in all these... No, sorry, I'm getting it backwards. His scribe didn't like him.
Yeah.
So his scribe fabricated a letter that said Aurelian was going to kill all his generals. And so his generals surrounded Aurelian one day and killed him before Aurelian could kill them. But it was all just because one single scribe lied about him.
So, the play about Caesar, I guess it's about Augustus Caesar, written by...
Shakespeare?
Yeah,
That's
Shakespeare.
what Julius Caesar.
Okay, but so there's a part of it. This is also written by Shakespeare about what was Augustus Caesar's rise to power, and it's this very interesting scene where they're in council and Brutus is there, and he said, "Brutus is an honorable man."
Yeah.
It's this like it's an example of like really good rhetoric.
Yeah.
So he said, "Brutus is an honorable man, and he killed Caesar because Caesar was growing too ambitious and seeking too much power. Yet, when I spoke with Caesar, he like explains all the things that Caesar's trying to do.
Yeah.
But Brutus is an honorable man." And then he goes on and says more things about why Caesar is good and Brutus is wrong.
Yeah.
But Brutus is an honorable man. And so it's basically like the repetition basically making people realize that Brutus isn't such a good guy.
Yeah, and he was a little power hungry himself, because like a civil war broke out right after Caesar died, right?
Yeah, well, them even killing Caesar was they were like, Caesar is getting too much power. They wanted him to have power, but they didn't. And then his successor is like, well, they killed him to save the Republic.
Yeah,
That's why they killed him. They saved the Republic. And then the people begged Augustus to become emperor.
And do you think, like, I'm trying to think of an equivalent. So let's say Lincoln, right?
Yeah.
Lincoln probably could have become king.
Yeah.
And let's say Lincoln wanted to become king after he won the Civil War, because basically Julius Caesar had just won a civil war, right?
Yeah.
So Lincoln wins a civil war, and then he says, "No, I'm not stepping down. Clearly the presidential system doesn't work. I'm going to stay king of the United States." And then someone comes and like, or maybe a more modern thing. People do get scared about this. People are scared about the idea of Trump having a third term, right?
Yeah.
So what if Trump says, "No, I'm going to be king. We need a king," right? There would be a lot of people scared, and a lot of people saying, "This is horrible." And so that is the perspective you have to keep in mind when they're like, Julius Caesar is tyrant, and he's not stepping down from tyrant. He's just supposed to be a member of a triumvirate. He's not even supposed to be as powerful as a president. He's supposed to have a third the power.
Yeah.
So, and now he's not stepping down at all, and he's killed one of the other triumvirate members. Well, he didn't kill him, but he ended up causing his death.
Yeah.
Accidentally. It was his best friend, but he still caused his death. That's something else. Julius Caesar's life is too perfect. Like, I'm not sure it's real.
Well,
I think he might be a mythological character.
Think about the history that's written. Is the people who have written the history would have been Augustus. And that's your adopted father who paved the way for you to become the most powerful man ever.
But I don't just mean like Julius Caesar is perfect as in like he's a really good person. I mean like it's a myth. It is a perfect story.
Yeah.
Like he marries his best friend's daughter, but then he and his best friend go to war. Julius Caesar's allies kidnap his best friend, cut off his head, send it to Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar is horrified because that was his best friend, so he weeps instead of celebrates when the Egyptians give him this head. Ruins his allegiance with the Egyptians. So then Cleopatra like wraps herself up in a carpet.
The Bible already did that.
But
It did.
oh yeah.
So the king before David.
Yeah.
So Israelites basically say, "We want a king, we want a king." The prophets say, "No, you don't. Kings suck."
Yeah.
It's like, "No, we want a king. Give us a king. We want a king." It's like, "Fine. Let's choose that guy will be king." So this guy becomes king. And you know the story of David, how he kills Goliath. He becomes super famous. So David is a menace on the battlefield, and everyone loves David.
Yeah.
David's the best. David's so cool. And the current king becomes jealous of David. And so he sends people to kill David. And Looney Tune hijinks basically start taking place. There is one point where this king stumbles into David's camp by accident. And they could have killed him. And they don't. Because they don't want... He's the king. You won't kill him. But anyways, events happen and eventually... like David's exiled, he does a whole bunch of stuff, epic stories take place, and this king ends up getting killed, and he gets beheaded, and his head is brought to David. And David is pissed, because this is his adopted father, one of the greatest men he knew, the guy who had him raised his position. And sure, this guy's been hunting David for like the last 15 years, just planning to kill him. But he's still David's father.
Yeah.
Like adopted father, and you just brought him his head?
Yeah, it's not going to be happy.
And so he executes the people who killed the king.
Yeah, but... that, like, the Bible is, it's like Julius Caesar, his life is equivalent to the biblical stories, where there's probably a historical truth there, right?
Yeah.
But there's like an underlying collective consciousness truth layered on top, which is the story is so perfect without any, it's hard to believe it's real.
Yeah.
That said, there was that moment where Trump was nearly assassinated.
Yeah.
And that picture was taken.
Yes.
And it's like, how is that possible?
Well, he turned to look at a graph.
Yeah. Now, and then his speech, when he came out and did his speech, I don't know if you've seen that speech, but the speech he gave after this assassination was probably the best speech I've ever heard in modern politics.
Yeah.
For the first 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. It was incredible. It was like, okay, the country's going to come together. It's going to be healed. It's going to be this beautiful place. And if he had just spoken for 15 minutes and then shut up, he could have become the greatest president ever. Like, I think he could have passed Lincoln. Like, seriously.
Even after he was shot and he got up again, he shouted, "Fight."
Yeah.
Fight.
But the speech he gave was such a story of unity. Like, Lincoln united after a civil war, right? Mm-hmm. Trump could have been the guy that stopped the Civil War. He could have been the guy that united everyone, that in the most fractious of times brought everyone together. He came to God, but he had to be himself.
Do you know about the Breaking Bad meme? I mean, you had a good thing going.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it could have been that. And then he just threw it away.
Yeah.
In the next, hour of rambling.
Yes.
But it was such a good moment. And that was the sort of thing, right? What you do, 50 years from now, you can write 100% truth in your history book, but you stop the speech at the 15-minute mark, and then you go, what a legend.
Yeah. So
Julius Caesar, he probably had his moments where, his toga slipped down in the middle of, whatever they called their...
the Senate?
In the forum. Yeah. Like, in the Senate or in the forums, his toga fell off and everyone looked at him naked. But you just don't write that down, right? You keep everything...
Or Julius... in Asterix and all this, he's always actually drawn looking a bit like Europa.
Yeah. He's drawn looking like Caesar.
Yeah.
Like, there's pictures of Caesar everywhere.
But he's like an older man.
Yeah.
So he could have had those moments where it's it's like a little bit confused and a little bit of the senility hitting him. It's like, what? Whatever?
Yeah. I don't think he ever got very old, actually.
No.
Probably into his 60s, maybe.
Yeah.
Because he was pretty old when he became a politician. He was in his 50s. And then he didn't last... he lasted okay, but not for very long.
I mean, for Roman standards.
But for Roman Emperor standards, he's great.
Especially the amount of lead they used.
Yeah, it was tasty.
Yeah.
Their wine was...
Look, the price for having self-healing concrete is an over-reliance on lead.
They're not related, but...
No, they are directly correlated.
So then, Cleopatra wraps herself up in this blanket, gets delivered to him, they have that affair, maybe, I think part of the problem...
Part of the problem is Shakespeare.
Well, it's Shakespeare, that's what I was going to say, yeah. Shakespeare...
You have an amazing story writer who basically invents history.
Yeah, well, the question is, how much is Shakespeare and how much is history at this point, right? Who knows where that line's become blurred. Because Shakespeare was writing, 1,500 years after the events.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at the history books, there is so much time that has passed between Caesar and now that none of that could be true, and history could still have played out in a totally different direction for 500 years. Because there was for a long time the Dark Ages, right? Yeah. We were missing 600 years of history, and we're
Who was the queen at the time of Shakespeare?
At the time of,
or was it a king?
It was a king. It was James.
But basically, Shakespeare was a propagandist for him, as a lot of people think.
Yeah,
because he would do this brilliant thing in his writing, like it's still studied today for actual propaganda courses and marketing, which is he would write satire about the nobility, but it'd be about the nobility that the current king didn't like, who would give the family bad name. And this history stories he'd write about his ancestors in a more positive light would still have satire and make fun of nobility so the common folk could like it. But in the end, like if we look at Macbeth, the rightful king arrives.
Right.
And he takes the crown and he's good and everyone loves him.
So it's like the modern age where you have like the Red Skull is the evil Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, except actually written by Shakespeare instead of whoever.
Yeah, well, that's the advantage. Well, I think what's interesting though, right, is to be as good a writer as Shakespeare, you can't write blatant and malicious is the TV trope term. You can't just hit him over the head with an anvil with your propaganda, right? You actually have to write a good story. And good stories contain an element of truth. Not necessarily true events, but a metaphysical truth. Like the truth that is beautiful, right? It might have even been Shakespeare that said beauty is truth. Like he's that kind of guy that he's probably... Well, I was talking to a French person who's hugely into literature, right? And so we were having a discussion like, what books have you read? What books have I read? And what was interesting was when I was talking about like, okay, who are the greatest writers, right? Because we're from two different places. So it's like, okay, so you're from France. What are the greatest writers in your mind versus what are the greatest writers in the English world? But she wasn't mentioning like French writers as the great, like French writers. It was the Russians and the British, right? Like those are the great writers. And then the occasional German. And then like Camus apparently is considered like the greatest French writer. Camus is good. But he's no Shakespeare or Dostoevsky or Tolstoy. Like
so in the Fate series,
Shakespeare Camus?
You can summon Shakespeare as a caster. And in the animated series with him, he's considered kind of useless. Because casters are meant to be powerful wizards from history. And Shakespeare can't do magic. He just writes in a book. The strongest thing Shakespeare can do is he can basically send an illusion at you which puts you into a tragedy or confuses or makes you reflect on your past. But there's lines throughout the whole story where people are threatening Shakespeare. Like, don't you dare write about me in your stories. Or it's like, be careful what you write. Or it's like, Shakespeare, when you're recording the events that are happening, are you writing a comedy or a tragedy? And Shakespeare's like, we'll find out. And everyone is actually slightly terrified of Shakespeare. And it's sort of like, it's hinted at but not revealed even at the ending, that Shakespeare's actual power is he can shape causality just by writing about it. But it's like just subtle power in the background.
There's a saying that gets said far too often, I think, which is that history is written by the victors. It's not true, but it's the right idea. It's that history is what the writers wrote. It's not the victors, it's the writers. Like Cicero, right? He wasn't a victor, he was just a historian that didn't like Commodus.
So one of our greatest historical books is The King's Cookbook. So the king had a chef who would take care of him. And it's just a cookbook of what the guy would prepare for the king and why and what reasons. And the chef, amazing chef, worked in tandem with the king's physician to keep the kings healthy.
Right, so it's honest. It has...
Yeah, and so it has... But what we can get from this cookbook, we can get some of the recipes, which is cool enough. But we can know what kind of recipes they were cooking with at the time, what their thoughts on medicine were at the time. It's a big book as well, with actually some recipes that are still used today. And this is like a historical source. And another historical source we have is a letter a guy wrote to his brother, I think. And it's just him talking about like what's going on in his life. And it's like one of our most important historical sources. Just basically guys saying like, yeah, my wife's pregnant, things are going good.
Did I tell you there's this amazing linguistic document? There was a Frenchman who moved to the UK in like the 1400s or 1300s. He didn't speak English, so he wanted to learn English. But he couldn't speak it, right? So what he did was he had a book where he would just walk around town and like sit in the middle of the market, listen to people's conversations. He'd write them down in English, then he'd write them down in French besides, so he knew the translation. And then he would phonetically spell out how it was pronounced so that he could practice it later. Which meant that we know exactly how people spoke back in the 1400s. We know, and what's better, because if it just had the one pronunciation, we'd be like, well, we don't know how the French people spoke. But we have the three pronunciations, and it's of conversations that people were having, right? It's not just like this very hoity-toity. Like if you read Shakespeare, people didn't speak like Shakespeare in Shakespeare's time. But you read this conversation, and it's how people spoke and what they talked about, because he was just listening in on people and writing down their conversations.
There's another source of a lot of historical documents is actually laws, like old laws, because that's one of the first things that got written is laws.
Yeah.
But one of the most important documents that we have as well of the history of England is the Domesday Book.
Yeah, which is King Alfred's book.
No, it's not King Alfred's.
That wasn't his?
No, that's William the Conqueror's.
Oh, well, that was... Right.
So, Alfred has his own book. Alfred actually had two books.
Yeah, what's it called? It's like the history of the Saxon people or whatever.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called,
Yeah, and the Bible.
Yeah, the Chronicle. It's called the something Chronicle.
Yeah, he wrote the Chronicle, and he also translated the Bible.
Yeah.
So William the Conqueror basically said, all right, I've got this country now.
Yeah.
I want to know everything that's in it.
Yeah.
And so he sent out a group.
What did I just conquer?
Yeah, so he sent out a group of people to figure it out. And so they'd show up to someone and said, all right, what's your name? John? And what's your last name? I don't got one.
What do you do?
I'm a smith. Right, John Smith is a smith.
Yeah.
How old are you, John Smith? I have no idea. Let me count. Maybe 15 winters? No, it's 21 winters? 21 years old. Maybe. Are you married with kids? I think so.
I saw data analysis of, what are they called? Centenarians? The people that have lived over 100 years old.
Yeah.
And what was very interesting about this data analysis was that it was like people that have lived to 115 or more, I think was the analysis. They are predominantly born on the same day of the year, which is either, it's like January 1st or June 30th. Because basically, there was no record. So they just said, okay, first day of the year, or they went middle of the year.
Yeah.
So we don't actually know how long people can live, because all the people we have in the records, we just made up their birthdays.
Yeah.
So it was, when they do this data analysis, they're like, oh, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know how long people live, which I thought was interesting. And because this is kind of like, we didn't have this massive spy data record until like the 1920s or something.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have clothes that fit until the 1920s with World War One, or like 1918, where they had to actually start measuring people's, like, oh, how big are your pants? That's why men have very exact pant sizes and women don't. Is because of the wars.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because they're like, okay, what are the most common men's pant sizes?
Well, so even industrial dyeing started from war.
Oh, yeah?
So, you know the red coat?
Yeah.
So, I can't remember which king it was, or it might have been Cromwell. I can't remember who did it. But basically for the red uniform, they're like, all right, we want everyone to look the same so we know who's on our side.
Yeah.
And we want them all look the same because that's terrifying. And it's impressive. It's like those things mixed together. What's the cheapest and easiest dye? Beets.
Oh. So they just like soaked them
beets.
In beets. Wow.
And so red dye is the easiest and cheapest dye to get. And so massive amounts of red uniforms were made. So all the soldiers could have the same uniform. And then the British other superpower, which is queuing, was put into effect to make their thin red line strategy.
Can you imagine, like, you know, it's the Napoleonic Wars, right? It's basically the First World War in many ways. So you've got the red coats coming in. You've got like the Napoleon's blue, right?
Yeah.
And then you're you're hungry and you're like, all right, let's go fight. Wait, we need uniforms. Okay, well, we'll have some red uniforms. That's taken. Okay, we'll have blue. That's taken. Green? No, that's taken. What's left? We've got purple. Oh, and we've got...
That's expensive.
We've got neon green. How am I going to afford this? We can't fight. Can't we just have red like the... Like, you want to get on that train quick.
Yes. Well, even the blue was expensive.
I guess the Russians had gray.
Well, so here's one of the things, is a lot of the times, like Napoleon's soldiers, the Prussian soldiers, the Russians, like all the soldiers, they didn't have quite as nice uniforms as the British. Because they would have like a surcoat maybe colored, or they would have a hat of the color,
or like those sashes.
Yeah,
right?
a sash. They'd wear a distinguisher.
Yeah.
The British had two things going for them around that time. It was the start of industrialization, and so they could mass produce.
Britain basically invented industrialization.
Yeah, so they could mass produce clothes that all look the same.
Yeah.
And they could dye them all the same color. So you're showing up there and you have like your 100 dudes all with their sashes so you know who's on the same side. You look a bit motley. And then you see 100 dudes all in red with white powdered wigs with tricorn hats, all same shape, all standing prim and proper.
I'm pretty sure no one else was even allowed to have a factory.
Oh, really?
Like in World War III. In Age of Empires 3. I'm pretty sure Britain was the only people that got the factory.
Shut up, Mr. Ashley Reads.
What even actually reads? Oh, like I actually use my cards?
Yeah, and you could build new decks and unlock them.
I can't believe they got rid of that feature. That was so cool. I mean, it was just play to win.
Yeah, everyone's just unlocked now.
Yeah, but it was so...
Yeah.
Like, you know...
We figured it out eventually.
Nice time
And you
to
lost your
advantage.
massive power spike.
Well, it's also just, like, you know, actually playing. Like, just build walls in Age of Empires 3 are overpowered.